Hello, everyone. This is Reverend Mary Hawk, and with me is Ed the Pagan Hubbard, and we're going to talk about Ed's new book. So, thank you for joining me, Ed.
Well, I'm glad to be here, as always.
All right. So, the title of your new book is The Witch Wars Defense Manual Part 2.
Yes,
Now, the
volume
first,
two,
or volume 2, I'm sorry. Now, you wrote the first one 20 years ago, correct?
2005. Yes, more or less.
So,
That was
19
written.
years
That
ago.
it was written there. It was written in a 10-day period of time. It was an answer to a problem.
So, what inspired you to write part 2 20 years later?
Well, one, people have always been asking about it, and it's probably Word Wars Defense Manual, the first volume, is probably as a free book. It's been handed out 500,000 times. There was only 100 copies made, and it was created for a very particular purpose to teach people around me how to stand up to what was becoming a bully culture inside paganism, both from our own people, from outside people, the community, plus everybody who was able to chime in. It was early in the internet, so people thought they had a right to say things about other people's cities, other people's places, and I created this document uh, with my Discordian heart and my prayers to Eris to help me deal with that problem, and it did. Now people are facing another round of this type of fight, except this time it's a much larger scale and it has a lot more of the premises of it. I didn't know it at the time, but what I was really talking about was reputational combat. And what would really emerge in the last 20 years is that reputational conflict, reputational damage. And what I mean is to your reputation, to your good name, how people perceive you. That's very important. How do people perceive you? Your brands, what you do. If you have to go out into the world today, you have to get attention. And so reputational combat is about how do you get attention either for you or away from others in a negative, sometimes a very negative way.
Okay. So, what kind of techniques are you talking about in your book?
Well, it's divided into three parts. One is defense, pure defense. How do you defend yourself? How do you build your reputation ahead of time? How do you build trust? How do you build the tools necessary? Are you doing a podcast? Are you doing Facebook? Are you utilizing the reputational tools that exist, that have always existed, that are now becoming easier and easier to use? Are you a live streamer? So those types of techniques, we're going to talk about that. How do you build your reputation? How do you build your defenses? How do you make your alliances? The second part is offense. How do you then utilize these to put people who would attack you and keep them from doing damage? And if they do damage, how do you handle it? And that's the second part of the book. And the third part is case studies. We're going to analyze some of the bigger witch wars that have happened in our community and how these techniques really do apply. Because at the end of the book, I want to teach you how to win your fights. And you have to define what a win is. I'm not talking victory, that's the good old passive warrior way, which is victories. And that means a lot of different things. But how do you win enough so that you can continue on doing your projects, your ideas, and keep your people moving forward to make a better life for yourself?
Okay. So, this sounds really interesting. And how does you're talking about witch wars, but like, how does this apply to psychics? How would this apply at a psychic fair?
So let's go ahead and define witch wars. Witch wars is when somebody is the outsider and it's all their fault for existing. The witch is who you blame, even if they're not a witch, to make them so irrehensible that their removal is going to solve all the problems. If your crops are dying, your pigs are sick, your children are sick, there's a plague in town, it can't be because of scientific reasons. It's a time when then very cunning people will then go after somebody and say it's all their fault for various reasons. in your job, it could be that your boss made a big mistake. This happens, really big mistake, like costing the company that somebody's going to get fired, and all of a sudden they blame an underling, saying, "My mistake wasn't my mistake; it was their mistake, and I can show it." You call it throwing it under the bridge, but that's hunting the witch. Now everybody in that office has to make a decision to believe the liar, the boss who really made the mistake, and or do they all jump in and say, yeah, that employee's bad and everything else to keep the pressure off themselves. That's a witch war. I don't care how you find it. And in psychics, it happens all the time. Psychics is very reputational. It's one of the most reputational businesses out there. What do I mean by that? A psychic is only known by their reputation, only by their skills, only by their word of mouth if they're good or bad. There is no organization of rating psychics. There's no Olympic of psychics saying, "Hi, we're the Divination 101. In our competition today, we're going to see who can predict the most number of cards on an ESP game." We don't have that. We really don't have any real rankings. So it is purely a reputational and attention gaining thing. So the techniques in here about building your reputation. How do you build trust with people? How do you build energy with people? And what do you do when they attack you? Because there's a very good reason. Either you see all the readings as an expansive force, like you can get more readings, and if you guys work together, you can get more readings, or it's a pie. As psychic
Mm,
says, it's a pie. If you don't get it, I might get it. If I get it, you don't. So it becomes really very basic, very coarse. That brutal reputation damages. You want to be nice to everybody. You want your reputation to be strong, but you also want it to be stronger than theirs so that you get the readings. But at the same time, they want their readings too. And so this is where a really good psychic operator needs to have a lot of readings coming through so this animosity doesn't happen. Wars happen, conflicts happen when there's not enough resources, not enough money flowing in, not enough customers, not enough attention, not enough respect, not enough news, not enough PR. Whenever there is a lack, that's where the battles really begin.
okay. That definitely makes a lot of sense.
And a good technique would be when psychics go around each other going, "Oh, you did such a great job with all those readings today." Inflicting a negative emotion. Are you tired? Didn't that tire you out yesterday? That's a hex.
Mm,
That's a jinx. That's by its nature a jinx. What does that mean? You did really well. I know you're feeling pretty good. You're pretty probably energized. But they would say things like, "But if it were me, but if it were me, I would be tired. Aren't you tired?" So now they're setting up an emotion, a response in your mind, something to mirror, right?
right.
And now you said, maybe I am tired. And seed of doubt gets placed in there. Your seed of doubt against from your very high, like I'm ready to do it again, to, I'm a little tired. And that might take a toll, say at the end of the day when the numbers keep going up. Wow, I did 35 yesterday. Hey, look, I've already had 25 today. And it's only halfway. So anything like that that can inflict a doubt is one of those things that can cause a psychic attack, which will then hurt your reputation, is that you can do an unlimited amount of readings or that you're good and you're talented. Hmm?
Right.
And if you slow down, other people will get the potential of that reading.
Right.
Now, psychics are in a very unique position, too. As the speakers of God, that's who they are. They're speakers of spirits, speaker of God, a speaker of God, speaker of the divine. It is not them. Very few psychics actually say, "No, it's me. I'm getting this." Most of the time, they're calling on another source.
Right.
That is their source. The tarot's giving me the messages, everything else. And so, in those cases, right, people really trust you. The more you have people accept that you are speaking with a divine voice, a godly voice, a forgiving voice, a loving voice, This is where the Gypsy Con comes in, they call it. I'm not calling,
Mm-hmm.
not the Romany people who do readings. I'm talking about the Gypsy Con, very particular. Hmm? And it would be so simple for even that to be weaponized. Oh, you called them gypsies. So I'm talking about this, what's known as a Gypsy Con. And yes, and if you're easily triggered or don't like things, don't buy this book. This book is full of triggers, even for me. But then you go out there, and so you're trusting this person. This person you're giving a great deal of money to. So you're actually conditioned by handing that money to them to trust them, right? And then they go ahead and
Right.
weaponize, and then you go ahead and weaponize it. Oh, what do I mean by that? You find out that you one of the best ways to do it. Oh, your husband is cheating on you. Are you going to believe her, or are you going to believe your husband, who may or may not be cheating from the gypsy point of view, the sort of con point of view? They got a 50-50 chance in our society of being right. And so they go
Yeah.
down and diminish it. They go, oh yeah, he's with somebody in his office, a younger woman. Da, da, da. So they feed the fear from a position
Mm-hmm.
of love and authority. That's weaponization. Oh, how can I find out more? Well, you go ahead and bring me one of your husband's T-shirts. You bring me this, and we'll cast a curse. Okay, now I want revenge on a fake story. I want my revenge. Another weaponization, and I will bring them all this time. Okay, I've got all these items, right? And then, well, I need a certain amount of cash, and you give them the cash, and they cast a curse, right? And now you're full of anger and rage, and you go confront your husband and find out it's a complete lie. What are you going to do? Happens all the time. You can
But
be
you've already bought into it at this point.
right now. You have to decide if your husband's telling you the truth or lie, and that's a weaponization of the divination for procuring extra dollars. Let me give you another one. I want mine of my good friends wants to do a read. I want to do a reading from it, but that good friend is cheating on my is cheating with my spouse. Hmm? She might put it. She might put in. You know, it doesn't matter the couple, the sex of the couple. It could be any number of things. But the reader then puts in distinctions in there to let you know that that spouse is unhappy. They create a conflict with that spouse from inside you, putting doubt in it that they love it. Then they already know what they want. They want that person, and they have to break them up from you, from the husband, from the spouse, from the boyfriend. That's an ugly one, and I've seen it happen. So they weaponize it to change the emotions of the kids in the group, the people in the group. And that's at the end of the day what reputational about it is how do you bring these people more into good attention, good people, bring yourself into attunement. You get attuned to each other and you're able to
Right.
work together. And then that's not sexual, it could be. It could be intimate, it could be, but it is emotional and it's based on that trust. And the more trust inside a group, the better the group is. The stronger it is, healthier it is. But at the same time, it is facing that's what its reputation to how it acts to other people is important. So that in a group, anyone who's jealous of that great group that you belong to, say a sister, a brother, a mother, a best friend who's not a part of that group, can bring damage to that group. So that group's inner trust, inner tension, is the single most best defense you can have, and one of the most difficult to maintain.
And that's how reputational damage starts.
Right. We all have reputational damage and reputational strengths, and it comes down to what is a reputation. A reputation is that which other people know of you, how they perceive you. It has nothing to do with your character. Okay, your character is something that you have in and of yourself, and it's very important. I believe in character, and then what you will and will not do, and that is where you are strongest. That's you don't survive if you don't have character. But your
Right.
reputation is a reflection of your culture, of your character. I'm known as being very harsh as a teacher. I'm one of the harshest teachers you'll ever meet, but I don't teach Wicca or witchcraft. I teach leadership. And this book is an extension of me teaching leadership. So if you come to me and you have the reputation, and I hate this, so you come to me knowing my reputation, I say, I'm a harsh teacher. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You think you're better than that. Okay. And then you find out I am a harsh teacher. Go, well, he's an asshole. He's a harsh teacher. No one says to them, go, oh, that's too bad. I didn't know that about him. It usually reflects back on the individual. So, did you know that ahead of time? Do you not do your research? So you can even have harsh things remembered about you, even if they're consistent and tied with your character, and not see them as damage. If you're known as a hard teacher, then you're known as a hard teacher. It's when you try to be known as a good teacher and then you're harsh, you're not true to yourself, that you start to have that fight. When that inner thought says, oh, that's an easy teacher. I'm not an easy teacher. I'll show you. I'll give you more homework. Right? Then they're seen as false.
Right.
One of the most favorite things I've seen of this sort of divinization uh, um, was recently, and I won't go into the details of it, watching, oracles at one of the cores, and today, there's going to be an oracle today at the core by the first priest. At some time today, or it may have already happened, um, we will have these oracles. And what are oracles is what we believe our ancestors are telling us what's happening now. Past, present, future. It's a combination, but we surely believe that the spirit is taking and asking for you. And it's supposed to be spontaneous. And believe me, you can practice it all you want. I went on front of the Parliament's illustration. I thought I was going to deliver this upbeat speech about unification. And instead, the thing that came through me was so hard and so dark.
It
You know,
was.
it was about the world's pain. But I didn't stop that. I would have been much better off as a human being to have given a positive oracle. Oh, we're all unified here. Are better. We're going to grow. No. So that's when you can tell. That's one of the things about authenticity of oracles. You really don't know sometimes what is going to come out. But you can also program it. And I've seen priestesses do this. They go out and they would set up. You'll see it in the case study of the Corellian Succession Wars, which I'm talking about as one of my biggest case studies, in which the first priestess came out and gave out an oracle. And it was a nice oracle. It was a very flattering, positive, but it was self-effacing, and it didn't follow the pattern of oracles. So immediately, regardless if the oracle was real or not real, though it was so positive to the person, right, and they didn't follow the normal patterns, which she herself had done so many times before, she got open to the idea that it was a fake oracle, and why it is, it serves her politically, and it broke certain rules. In this case, she actually used the ancestors' names that talked to her. That's not a form that's ever happened before. Now, could it have happened? Sure. I'm not arguing if the oracle was true or false, but by being so different, so politically focused on them, naming individual leadership, and making it sound more like a political speech instead of a authentic oracle, it opened her up to be calling that oracle was fake, and her reputation as a honest speaker of the gods was damaged. Now, did we question if the oracle was right or wrong? That was an individual choice. But what she did open herself up to was this claim to damage that I'm not a clean oracle. And that's why the difference between these two stories is it would have been easier for me to put my oracle brain away and not do the exercise and say something very positive. And it would probably have been accepted because it was right emotion place. But I went and did something. To this day, I cringe at what it says. And the other way around, that it was said and it made people feel uncomfortable. So you can't make people feel uncomfortable with the truth. You can make them feel uncomfortable with the message, but you can't make them feel uncomfortable that it is the truth. Not the truth of it. Matter, you can make them uncomfortable. It can be very dark. It can be very bright. You can make people feel very happy and make them almost uncomfortably joyful. or you can bring them down to misery and despair. You can take them anywhere with the message, but you can never question the truth of it, that you're being honest, that you believe that what you're saying is true. And if it doesn't, it shows up. And when it does show up, it automatically deteriorates your ability to be an oracle. Same thing with readings. Same thing with any sort of voice from the outside coming in.
Right. And now let's show people where they can get your book.
Sure, it's going to come out slightly before Halloween. It's on track. Everything's good. I'm so excited about it.
It is, here is the book, and this can be ordered at, and I'm getting the link up here.
Mm-hmm.
You can order it.
And if you use the discount code ETP today, get 20% off anything on Corellian Publishing.
So that discount code, that's E as in Edward, T as in Tom, P as in Publishing. It's CorellianPublishing.com.
That's an interesting way to phrase it, yeah. And so you can get that 20% off ETP. But understand, everything we do now, so at the core of all of this, is that attention is the new economy. It's always been the economy. It's always been where sources of power have been. And this idea of reputation is not new. It's what branding is. There's a lot of different things to do. So, it's what your resume is. Resume is your reputation on paper that they test it. So we've always had this idea of your reputation. And what's new is that 20 years ago when I wrote the book, most people were audience and consumers of content. And the media world, journalism, all of that, were controlled by a few because it was expensive. And the price was coming down. And I've always been a media person, because that's where some of the real freedom is. So we've had all these gatekeepers to your reputation, and you didn't have to worry about it. Today, that's completely different. It's completely flipped. Everybody is a journalist. Everybody has access to media resources, free of charge, huge ones. And now, attention, your ability to use those research to get attention, is a way that you make money. If you're not profoundly skilled to the point that you can be visible about it, now your reputation and how you do becomes an essential part. Your employer never could see into your private life. Now, you can see as much as they want that you want to show. Ooh, isn't that? The idea of a surveillance society. When you went to apply for a job, nobody, people didn't look at your credit rating. They wanted to know what your skill set was. Today, employers will look at your credit rating because they don't want people in their opinion, with bad credit, because that can be damaging. Yeah. So you have all of these different things now tied to your name that even goes and being used for purposes we never used it for. And then on top of it, advertising, you can't just buy your name. So what was the way of the 80s, the 90s, even into the 2000s is you could buy your reputation. You could repeat it until people believed it. Coke, the real thing. Right?
Yes.
We got that repeated to us till we believed it. It's a technique. Today, Coke, the real thing, you can now have somebody on Facebook go, the real thing, here are all the ingredients of Coke. What's real about it? They can get complained about and rallied against directly. I can say my food is delicious, and a lot of people can agree or disagree. But if I say my food is healthy, now I've got a whole bunch of people who go on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and their own media systems that are developing to argue with me. You must get attention to your product, to your person, if you want to continue. And if you are wanting to play this game. And that opens us up to reputational combat. After all, what is a presidential race right now but a war of reputations?
Absolutely.
Which one do you trust more? Which one do you want more? Which one do you believe will have more? And that is at the core a war, reputational warfare. Everything's, and we spend $1 billion a year. So you don't think this affects you? Sure, I understand. Go right ahead, think that. But when you do, what are you going to do? That's what this book is about. What are you going to do when they call you a witch? When they blame you for everything, they make you the scapegoat. How are you going to win against that? This is what this book is about. When they call you a witch, you show them how much power you really have. And you use your reputation, your inner will, your character to win that battle and to make sure you can continue to have the resources you need to do what you want the way that you want it, in cooperation and in friendship, all your friendship. That's what it is about. And I'm hoping that's what I convey.
Well, I certainly can't wait to read it.
Well, good. I hope so. I hope that people desire to read it.
And it's available for pre-order right now.
Mm-hmm.
So go ahead, pre-order your copy, CorellianPublishing.com, and use the discount code ETP.
Absolutely.
And Ed, thank you so much for joining me. Thank you everyone for watching, and have a wonderful day.
And remember, keep your shields up today. You never know what's going to happen next.
Absolutely. Blessed be everyone.